As the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Bilirakis, for his 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to weigh on. Thanks for your friendship. This is a very important hearing. Again, it hits close to home for me. While the substation attacks in North Carolina and Washington received more national attention, there were at least 6 attacks to substations in the state of Florida, 3 of which were in the Tampa Bay area, and I represent parts of the Tampa Bay area. These weren't rural substations. Most were in urban or suburban areas. Mr. Counsel, question. You mentioned that the EISAC held a special webinar and briefing in response to the attacks in North Carolina. Did any of the Florida substation attacks receive similar briefings? And if not, do you think that the differences in the attacks, methods, and motivation warrant additional briefings?
So when we conducted that briefing, when we typically conduct these type of briefings, we invite the entire electric sector. So we don't discriminate between participants. So I can't tell you if the utilities in Florida did attend. I believe they did. Our study, our analysis of security incidents absolutely calls out the incidents in Florida. And when you look at clusters, it's really the Southeast, North Carolina and Florida, where we had seen an increase in attacks. Moving forward, though, we've developed a resource guide for all our members that really points out simple steps they could take to conduct risk assessments and make investments to harden their assets. The last thing I draw your attention to is we're not declaring victory here. We have a series of workshops and road shows that we're calling to further discussion on physical security. They will take place regionally. One will take place in North Carolina, but we will invite all the utilities in the Southeast to participate. And we'll have similar ones throughout the United States as we go forward and continue to have that discussion. The last thing I'll draw your attention to is there is a technical conference that FERC and NERC are sponsoring on August 10th, where again we will invite all the appropriate industry stakeholders to continue to further the discussion on what we can do to protect ourselves from physical security events.
Thank you. Consider coming to Florida, since it's the 3rd largest state in the union. Mr. Walker, I wanted to thank you for touching on the threat to our electrical energy infrastructure posed by the shortage of large power and distribution transformers. In Florida, we are prone to hurricanes, as you know, that can result in widespread destruction, God forbid, of our electrical grid and its critical components. In your written testimony, you mentioned the shortage as a solvable challenge. A very easy step to help would be for the Biden administration to reject its proposed rule on energy efficiency standards for distribution transformers. This rule would only worsen the existing shortage. We cannot wait until this shortage results in preventable deaths. We can't wait. Additionally, in your testimony, Mr. Walker, you listed a number of threats to the electric system, including the transition from an unidirectional to a multi-directional power flow grid. Can you please summarize some of the security risks that this transition poses, please?
Sure, thank you, Congressman Hudson. The transition presents, and I think it's been mentioned here before, a greater surface area for cyber and physical threat to be imparted upon. And so the system as designed and the control systems that we presently utilize and the processes we utilized were really designed for a top-down, from generation down to load. Things like the under-frequency load shedding that I mentioned in my introduction are very and highly effective when you have a system that is designed and operated that way. As you begin to integrate renewables, and I'm a fan of renewables, it's being strategically used throughout the system, but as you advance the integration of renewables, storage, all the other different components, the Internet of Things that utilize or provide capacity on the system, they introduce different communication pathways which enable cyber attacks to actually interfere with the effective and efficient utilization of those assets. So as we transition, and I think Mr. Chnowski talked about, you have to design the system. You have to design the control systems so that they're cyber secure by design. What we're doing is we're driving the bus and we're trying to change the tires while we're doing it. And so we need to think about all of the different changes and the multi-directional flows that we are now starting to see on the system that the system was not designed for. And our automated processes in some cases were not designed for. And so engineering concepts that were utilized in the past may not be applicable as we continue to further transform the grid.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. And again, thanks for allowing me to waive on, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. Bye-bye. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Thank you.